You know what, Carrie? I'm not sure if we did. That was,
I've been
so
following pretty closely,
Have you?
so.
Okay, yeah, I'll take your word on it. So thank you
Just in
for
case.
thank you for catching
We
that.
can do it again.
And we'll just circle back. So are there any nominations for Intergovernmental Relations Committee Vice Chair?
Mr. President,
Councilman Limpert.
I nominate Councilwoman Heeman.
Is there a
As for
second? Seconded by, all right. So Councilwoman Heeman has been nominated for Vice Chair of the Intergovernmental Relations Committee by Councilman Limpert and seconded by Councilman Scarl. Are there any other nominations? All right, hearing none, with Councilwoman Heeman being nominated and receiving a second, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion will carry. Thank you, Carrie. And so now we will move on to committee members. So at this time, is there any nominations for Finance Committee member?
Mr. President,
Councilman Kelly.
I nominate Councilwoman Williamson to be the member on Finance.
Second.
Councilwoman Williamson has been nominated as a member of the Finance Committee by Councilman Kelly and seconded by Councilman Limpert. Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, with Councilwoman Williamson being nominated and receiving a second, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion will carry. This time, are there any nominations for the Environmental Control Committee member?
Mr. President, I'd like to nominate Councilman Kelly.
Second.
Thank you. Councilman Kelly has been nominated as a member of the Environmental Control Committee by Councilman Glassburn, and it was seconded by Councilwoman Heeman. Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, with Councilman Kelly being nominated and receiving a second, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Hearing none, that motion will carry. And at this time, are there any nominations for the Intergovernmental Relations Committee member?
Mr. President,
Councilman Limpert.
I'd like to nominate Councilman Scarl.
Second.
Councilman Scarl has been nominated as a member of the Intergovernmental Relations Committee by Councilman Limpert and seconded by Councilman Glassburn. Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, with Councilman Scarl being nominated and receiving a second, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Hearing none, that motion will carry. And at this time, are there any nominations for the Streets and Transportation Committee member?
Mr. President,
Councilman Limpert.
I'd like to nominate Councilwoman Gilchrist.
Second.
Councilwoman Gilchrist has been nominated as a member of the Streets and Transportation Committee. That motion was made by Councilman Limpert and seconded by Councilman Glassburn. Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, with Councilwoman Gilchrist being nominated and receiving a second, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion will carry. At this time, are there any nominations for the Building, Zoning, and Development Committee member?
Mr. President,
Councilman Limpert.
I'd like to nominate Councilwoman Heeman.
Second.
Councilwoman Heeman has been nominated as a member of the Building, Zoning, and Development Committee by Councilman Limpert and seconded by Councilman Glassburn. Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, with Councilwoman Heeman being nominated and receiving a second, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion will carry. And At this time, are there any nominations for the Public Safety, Health, and Welfare Committee member?
Mr. President,
Councilman Kelly.
I nominate Councilman Glassburn as the member of the Public Safety Committee.
Second.
Who had the second? Okay, thank you. Councilman Glassburn has been nominated as a member of the Public Safety, Health, and Welfare Committee. Nomination made by Councilman Kelly and seconded by Councilman Scarl. Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, with Councilman Glassburn being nominated and receiving a second, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion will carry. And at this time, are there any nominations for the Recreation, Public Parks, and Buildings Committee member?
Mr. President,
Councilwoman Heeman.
I'd like to nominate Councilman Limpert as the member of the Recreation Committee.
Second.
Councilman Limpert has been nominated as a member for the Recreation, Public Parks, and Buildings Committee by Councilwoman Heeman and seconded by Councilman Glassburn. Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, with Councilman Limpert being nominated and receiving a second, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion will carry. And then the final item that must be done is a council president pro tem must be nominated. This person will act as the council president when the president of council is absent. Are there any nominations on the floor for president pro tem?
Mr. President,
Councilman Limpert.
I'd like to nominate Councilman Kelly for President Pro Tem.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Councilman Limpert, I don't mean to interject, but I believe there was a potential change at Pro Tem that was going to take place, and...
Somebody can nominate a second person.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Mr. President, if it's the appropriate time, I'd like to nominate Councilwoman Williamson for the President Pro Tempore.
Okay.
And I'll second.
Sorry. I thought Councilman Kelly would offer a first and a second on that motion, so, thank you. So, Councilwoman Williamson has been nominated by Councilman Glassburn, and that has been seconded by Councilman Kelly. Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, with Councilwoman Williamson being nominated and receiving a second, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? And hearing none, that motion will carry.
Mr. President?
Councilman Glassburn.
Thank you. So our clerk is remote tonight, and I was a little slow on the initiation of the web feed. Could we, just for the video record, just restate the chairs for the various committees, just the 7 chairs?
Certainly.
Thank you.
You want me to do that right now?
Yeah,
Okay.
wherever is appropriate in the agenda. Just wanted to make sure that happened.
And Mr. President, if I may?
Yes,
Thank you.
Director.
And I assume you're going to do a committee of the whole report. Is that your intent during the meeting? And at the conclusion of the committee of the whole report, I would request that a member of council then make a motion to accept those committee assignments. There be a second and a formal roll call vote. So we can do it here, but we're going to get another shot at it during the meeting. I don't know if that's how your intent was, how to proceed that way or not, but that's would be the best way to do that. So if you want to call out the chair people at this point in time, but we'll also then do it during the formal council meeting along with the rules, which this is the hard work right here, is getting the work done, and then the actual final formal approval will be at the meeting. So just a note.
Okay, understood. So at the risk of repeating, I think we'll do it during the
Yes, thank
committee
you.
of the whole report.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that to my attention. All right, with that, and being no other items to discuss on the agenda, I will close the committee of the whole meeting at 7:35 p.m.